Saquon Barkley, he had a girlfriend that threw around the N-word a lot and said she wasn't a gold digger and she wasn't messing with no broke N-words. He looks like that kind of guy that is indifferent to what black people go through.
To get to DL Hughley's points directly, stigmatizing black folks, saying you know who they are, and using that example to describe Saquon Barkley, I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. Really? That's what we're doing?
I think it's absolutely asinine to suggest that Donald Trump is trying to erase black history. That's the craziest thing ever. DL Hughley don't have any evidence whatsoever to make a claim like that, other than having Trump derangement syndrome.
What's up, people? It's your boy Toby, and you are welcome to the Toby Show. If you don't subscribe to the channel, do that right now. Subscribe to this channel, watch these videos, leave a like, leave a comment, and share these videos with your friend. So DL Hughley, if people that don't know him, a comedian, now supposedly an activist, whatever he wants to call himself, but he is a legit Trump hater. In his eyes, there is nothing Trump can do right. You get what I'm saying? And in his eyes, no black person should associate with Trump. So now he has come for Saquon Barkley. For people that don't know, Saquon Barkley was with Trump a couple days ago before the Eagles went to the White House, right? Saquon Barkley came out of the airplane with Trump and all that. They went to play golf and all that, right? And DL usually went on TMZ and said this about him.
So 14 players said, I'm going to boycott this. Whose side are you on?
I think that it's not just political. What Donald Trump has done and is doing to black history is unsavory and is undeniable. Donald Trump is deliberately trying to erase black people's history for whatever quest. He's elevating Christopher Columbus again. So he deliberately is doing things to black people that isn't just political. And any black man that does it is going to obviously catch some level of heat. When a black person does it, when it's a black person, I can always tell what kind of black person. I can always tell what they are.
Whoa. Wait, what does that mean, DL?
Saquon Barkley, he had a girlfriend that threw around the N-word a lot and said she wasn't a gold digger and she wasn't messing with no broke N-words. He looks like that kind of guy that is indifferent to what black people go through. It's just true. And I think I've noticed that to be consistent with a lot of black people who show up. They have a shoe booty affect to them.
So according to DL Hughley, Saquon Barkley is a coon. According to him, he allowed his girlfriend to say the N-word, allegedly. I've not seen the video, but that's what he said. And according to him, he's a coon. He's the one that he is the type that likes to meddle and peddle with racists, according to him. Right? Now, Stephen A. Smith clearly did not take this lightly, right? And he came on his show and he gave DL Hughley the beating, violated him. But then, after that, he said, you know what? I'm not going to do this dirty work by myself. I am going to bring in Officer Tatum. And boy, oh boy, I'm not going to tell too much. Let's check it out.
You heard what DL Hughley had to say. Your thoughts?
First of all, DL Hughley has been historically one of my favorite comedians. I love DL Hughley, but I don't know what he done. I don't know, he bumped his head or something, but he has lost his mind. And it's a shame that he has to go down the path of racism. You know, I've met Donald Trump several times. I've been to the White House several times. Actually, Donald Trump met my dad at a UFC fight not too long ago, and my dad didn't even vote for Trump. So
can black people be racist? I mean, you decide. You tell me in the comments. Can black people be racist? I have my thoughts, but you tell me, can black people be racist? Is DL Hughley racist?
Donald Trump isn't what they're projecting him to be, but also the racism that exists amongst black people. Why is DL Hughley, who claimed to be a pro-black man, hating and talking down on another brother? Just because you decide to love a woman that happen to not be black don't mean you're a sellout and you don't understand the black struggle. And Saquon Barkley, who's a rational adult, who wants to play football and enjoy his life and don't have to have a problem with Donald Trump. Because
for people that don't know, right, the line where it says, I'm not a gold digger, you know, I can't be messing with an N-word, something like that, right? That's a Kanye West song. I've forgotten how the line goes, but that is a Kanye West song. So it wasn't like she was just saying it just out of the ordinary. She was clearly repeating Kanye West's song.
because everybody said he does. I mean, he went and golfed with Donald Trump. He was flying on a, Marine One with Donald Trump. What's the problem with that? Unless you're a racist and you hate white people, you shouldn't have a problem with a brother loving a white person or a brother supporting a president just for the sake of him being the commander in chief. And DL Hughley just, he bothers me so much because I just don't like what he says about black people, generally speaking, but I can go on forever about it.
I'm not gonna lie. Anytime I see DL Hughley, he's criticizing black people. Literally, he is. I'm not gonna lie. You go, I mean, he goes too hard on black people, especially black people that are probably conservatives or black people that have a good relationship with Donald Trump. Like, and the funny thing is, a lot of these black people that are criticizing Donald Trump now, yeah, they were cool with Donald Trump before he decided to run for presidency. From the operas of the world, all those people, Didi, every single one of them. You get what I'm saying? They were cool with Trump before Trump came out, or rather came down from the gold escalator and decided to run for presidency. Now, all of a sudden, he's the next thing to devil. He's the next thing to Satan. He's a Nazi. He's Hitler. We all can see the bullshit. But DL Hughley, he does this all the time where he criticizes black people or black men, right, that do not think like him. And I think it's wrong.
What did you think about what he had to say as it pertained to Trump and the administration essentially trying to eradicate black history? Basically, whatever initiatives, executive orders, there's a lot of things that we can point to that people have believed that's what he was doing. What do you make of that and what Trump has done since he's been in office?
I think it's absolutely asinine to suggest that Donald Trump is trying to erase black history. That's the craziest thing ever. DL Hughley don't have any evidence whatsoever to make a claim like that, other than having Trump derangement syndrome. Donald Trump in his first term, he gave permanent funding to HBCUs. Donald Trump literally had every HBCU president in the Oval Office talking to them about things that they can do to improve black universities. Donald Trump, the operations zones, and I mean, you can go down the list and all the things that he's done that help black in the black community. The people that have been a part of his administration. Is Byron Donalds a sellout? Is Clarence Thomas a sellout? I mean, all of these other people
would say Clarence Thomas, though. Officer Tatum, some people would say that about Clarence Thomas. They do feel like Clarence Thomas has been one of those individuals that has no interest in pushing forth black causes at all. That has been said about him for decades. Long before Donald Trump came along.
And it's because of black people who inherently are in their consciousness are racist individuals, because they don't like Clarence Thomas because he got a white woman. But let me tell you this. I bet you $1 million you won't see DL Hughley talking about Bubba Wallace, the NASCAR driver that did the fake hoax with the noose. You'd never hear him talk about him because he's willing to say all this activist stuff that he's not really believing in. But he got a white woman. So DL Hughley is inconsistent with his projection against black people. I'll just say this. Black people cannot exist in America isolating themselves in a cocoon with other black people who.
That's a whole point. That's a whole fact. I literally had this conversation with my friends and my cousin, right? And I told them the same thing. You guys cannot expect things to get better for you in America, right? While you isolate yourself and say, I don't want to mess with these people. I don't want to do any kind of business or make any type of deal with the people in power. These people are in power. Whatever policies that are implemented in America as a country will affect you negatively or positively. So a smart person will say, all right, cool. I might not like the people in power, or rather the person in power, but god damn, I need to go there, represent my people, get what I can get, right, for the betterment of my people. But you have all these people like DL Hughley, all these people that like what's her name, Whoopi Goldberg, and all these so-called black elites and leaders, right, that live in white mansions, white neighborhoods, but they will tell you that live in the hood not to talk to these people, not to go across the board and mess with these people and do business with these people for the betterment of the community. They're not going to tell you that. But their life is good, but they're not thinking about your life.
To be honest, hate on them more than white people do. And DL Hughley is a perfect example of it. Why won't you uplift your brothers? Why won't you celebrate the brothers that got invited to the White House that won the Super Bowl? Why wouldn't you? because you just don't like Donald Trump. And I guarantee you'll never hear DL Hughley say anything negative about Donald Trump before he became a Republican president.
That's a whole fact.
That's why I don't have no respect for these dudes. And then I'll tell you this, Stephen A., they don't never talk about the thugs in our community. They never talk about the problems. I mean, consistently.
That's
talk about the ailments that are in our community. Talk about, abortions that go on in our community higher than anywhere else in the country.
Some of those people don't hate Trump. They just hate the party. They hate the fact that he is in the Republican Party, that he is running as a conservative. Because if they hate Trump, they will not be friends with Trump before Trump became the first before he became the president. They were all cool with him. There are pictures out there. Trump is in the biggest movie out there, Home Alone. You want to tell me that they really hate him that much that they allowed him to be in the movie? They shot that scene in one of his hotels. Come on, man.
They don't talk about the murder rate in our community that's higher than anywhere else in the country. They don't talk about the education system that has failed black people.
True.
They don't talk about these politicians that put illegal aliens before they put black people. Look at Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Billions of dollars spent on illegal aliens, won't spend a dime on black folks. Look at Barack Obama. He came from Chicago. Can't name me not one policy that benefited black folks, especially not in Chicago. So DL Hughley won't talk about these brothers. They won't talk about these hoodwinking snake oil salesmen that are acting like they're activists. For instance, Reverend Al Sharpton. These people are the most disingenuous individuals I've ever seen in my life. They can go on a boycott of Target, not realizing that there's black people that got product in Target.
Yep.
So why would you boycott Target and in the black communities where black people work at the Target? How about we stop wasting energy being victims and start supporting black people? Have a march to support black businesses, where we spend our money in black businesses, where we put our money in black banks, where we send our kids to black universities. Stephen A., you know why you would never see them do that? Because they wouldn't dare put their money in a black bank. They wouldn't dare send their kids to black universities. And DL Hughley and the rest of them won't dare live in a black neighborhood. Ask Stephen A. where he live at. I guarantee you, we look it up, he live around a number of white folks. So this is why I don't believe these people and why they're detrimental to black people in America.
I got to take a break to pay a bill. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more in just a second. What I would challenge you on, Officer Tatum, and I respect the hell out of you and where you're coming from. I don't agree with everything you said, but let me say this. A lot of the litany of things that you labeled in terms of problems that exist in our community, problems that exist in our country, you're absolutely right on point. I'm not here to challenge that at all. I love the last part that you made about how they were so focused on immigration, they were so focused on woke culture and cancel culture that they forgot about black folks along the way, the folks on the left. I totally agree with you about that. I've been decrying that for the longest time. And when I think about DL Hughley, I've said this before you came on the show today. I'm like, listen, you can't sit up there and talk mess about somebody, all right, and then expect them to do business with you. You've got to be willing to compromise. You got to be willing to cross the aisle, figuratively speaking, in his case, because he's not a politician. You got to be willing to work. You can't be about denigrating the president for every damn thing. Like there isn't a single thing that he says that he doesn't do right. Everything he says isn't wrong. Everything he says isn't off kilter. Some things he said he does have a point about. There's no question about that. I push back on you when you try to lay, like somebody like a DL Hughley, when he pointed out how Trump challenged his nationality, whether he was born in the United States or not. But let's not forget that. When we point to issues, when we talk about how, what have they done for us or what hasn't been done for us, when we see a guy like Clarence Thomas and others, you speak against affirmative action, but you benefited from affirmative action. When we hear Trump come into office and literally a plane collides with a helicopter and he's blaming DEI with no evidence whatsoever, and they're questioning the meritocracy of something or the merits of something, and all of those kind of things are taking place, we do find ourselves. And I think DL Hughley is absolutely entitled to find himself uncomfortable with some of the things that he has seen. You see, he might have gone too far by saying what he said. I think he did. Anybody that goes to the White House, anybody that communicates with Trump, I think that's beyond the pale. But him being skeptical, him questioning some things, I don't think that's off kilter, Officer Tatum. I don't.
Well, Stephen A., if his skepticism was genuine, I agree. My father has skepticism of Donald Trump and things that are genuine. My dad is a good man. He's acting in good faith and he don't hate white people.
But how do you know it's not genuine?
I think he has a big issue and he hate white people deep down in his soul. And that's why everything white people do, he has a criticism. When white people get in a shooting against black people, he has a criticism. I guarantee you I haven't seen his take on the kid in Dallas that stabbed a young man in the heart. I guarantee he took the side of the black man. Let's go back to the birther thing. The birther is an argument about the validity of Barack Obama's birth certificate started with Hillary Clinton. And there was a whole bunch of other politicians outside of Donald Trump. Donald Trump piggybacked off of things that people had already established. DL Hughley, I mean, we can go down a list of all the other things that you said. His skepticism of policy. What policy is he referring to that Donald Trump is doing that's against black people? Last time I checked, building the economy helps build black people's pocketbook. Last time I checked, when you're talking about immigration and getting all these illegal aliens out of our country, spending taxpayer dollar, black people pay taxes.
Yep.
That helps and benefits the black community. When you think about Clarence Thomas, this is a black man who worked his way up and decided that we do not need affirmative action because it discriminates against all people. It discriminates against black people because there are black people who are qualified that are not necessarily associated with this affirmative action thing. You know, they may have a family, they come from a good family, a good household, and they're not associated with getting a handout because their parents did the work and their parents put them in a position where they're not considered lower income or people who benefit from affirmative action. But also, it's time for us to move forward. We can't keep living in the past, Stephen A. I mean, my God, I just saw a movie that came out called Sinners. I haven't watched it, but the preview of the movie and some of the dialogue around the movie is another movie projecting black people in the 1930s. And it's the white man against the black man. When are we going to stop this mess? You know, the Underground Railroad's proliferation and success didn't come from just black people. There were good white people who never owned slaves, who never had nothing to do with slavery, who risked their lives to help Harriet Tubman get black people to freedom. In the history of this country, there has always been good white people that have done positive things to affect change that benefited black people.
The latest one is, I don't know if you guys know, Nate Robinson. He used to be an NBA player, right? He needed his kidney changed. He had a kidney failure, right? He needed it changed and everything, yeah? He was a white person that actually donated his kidney to Nate Robinson. It was a white person. So this whole thing that all black people are bad, no, that's not true. And that's wrong to say that. But the thing about some of these people that are in the Democratic Party is they will say all white people are bad, except the ones that are in their party. Except the ones that are in their party. Because if all white people are bad, what do you get to say about people like Clinton and his wife, George W. Bush, the family, Biden? You know what I'm saying? So I never hear any of these people say anything bad about them people. But the thing is, that tells me that it's not really, they don't believe what they're saying. It's just they feel like that is the ops. That party over there, we don't mess with that party over there. So nothing good is going to come out of there. So everyone on there is bad. And I think that that's a bad way. That's a wrong way of thinking.
Now, there have been races. There have been knuckleheads.
Absolutely.
But generally speaking, in the totality of circumstances, in the American experience, there's nowhere else on planet Earth black people can go and benefit and prosper and have a level of success than in the United States of America. Right. And there are so many corporations and so many lenders and investors that are white that have propelled black people to a level of success that we've never seen before.
Yep.
I mean, Stephen A., your contract is very handsome. And I don't think that they're treating you improperly because you black. It's because you earned it.
No,
it's because you went years of being consistent,
right,
speaking your mind, taking the heat, and then you're getting paid.
My response to that would be, that's true. I'm very, very fortunate, but I went through a lot before I got to this point.
Yep.
And it took me significantly longer to achieve what others who look differently than me might have captured sooner. But I do get your point, because I don't sit there and look back, and I don't view every white person as racist, and I don't view every policy as racist. A matter of fact, one of the reasons I've never felt that way about Donald Trump in terms of racism, Nazis, and all of this other stuff is because I knew him before he ran for office. And I knew a whole bunch of us that knew him before he ran for office. And we never said that stuff about him. Neither did Oprah, neither did a whole bunch of other people. There was a whole bunch of people communicating with Donald Trump, befriending Donald Trump, socializing with Donald Trump, and we never had any problem. So I view him as somebody that's catering to a constituency because he knew he wasn't going to win the left. He wasn't going to win the Democratic nomination because that was going to Hillary Rodham Clinton. Yep. They would have made sure he didn't win that. So he went the other side, and he, being a businessman, is willing to negotiate his way through anything. That's how I view him, but that's just me. I want to get to you in this regard, Officer Tatum. You talked about your dad and how he didn't vote for Donald Trump. Are you a lifelong Republican, or are you somebody that was a Democrat that transitioned to being a Republican because of the things that you've articulated since you've been sitting on this show?
That's a great question. You know, in America, and I say this is unfortunate in part, that when you black, you come out a Democrat. Because when I was young, we didn't even vote. We weren't even deep into politics. But you just knew if you were going to vote, you voted for a Democrat, because the Democrat was for the black people and the Republicans were racist white people. That's what it was.
That's true.
And then when I grew up, I started being more informed and started looking at policy positions as a Christian man. I say, well, wait a minute. I don't think I agree with nothing that the Democrats are doing. I don't think I agree with any of it. I believe in God. I believe putting God first. I believe in marriages between a man and a woman. I mean, you go down a list. I don't want to pay no crazy amount of taxes just for them to be throwing your money like they at a strip club. So I'm saying, when I look at the policy position, not the emotional manipulation of empathy that I see from the Democrat side and from DL Hughley and others, I look at policy and I say, well, the policy of lowering taxes makes sense. Thomas Sowell, the great economists, have already articulated, any economist will tell you, when they lower the taxes and taxes seem to be reasonable to the American people, they pay more into the treasury. Yep. When you raise the taxes, people try to evade taxes. Therefore, there's lower money coming into the treasury of the United States of America. So I'm for lowering taxes. I'm for, immigration policy. It don't make no sense whatsoever that people have to wait 10 years to come over here. And I think it's prejudice against some of the African nations because they don't get to just walk through the southern border. People waiting in line forever, paying all this money, fleeing actual persecution, and they don't have an opportunity because we have 20 million illegal aliens coming from the southern border right into our country. And DL Hughley didn't say a thing that I've seen about when Joe Biden was doing this and screwing black people over. Because where do they go, Stephen A? When these illegals come into America, they don't go to the foothills. They're not going to the affluent neighborhoods. They're not welcome at Martha's Vineyard. They are going and competing for low-skilled work in the inner cities. And therefore, they're putting black people out of employment because black people are working for citizen wages, which means that you're an American citizen, you have to work for minimum wage.
Bro, this brother right here, he is spitting gospel, man. He is preaching. Because everything he's saying is true, right? Look at what's happening in Chicago. Look at what's happening in New York and everything. Yeah, in Chicago, the people that the migration crisis affected the most are people in the hood, black people, literally black people. Tell me, black people for the longest are saying that the Democrats care about them. Why is it that every state that is run by the Democrats is horrible? List them: Chicago, California's worse right now. New York. You know what I'm saying? Atlanta. Like, these are people, they do not care about black people, even though they are black people that are in power in them states. Like, if you really care about your people, your state should be like Dubai right now. Say, yeah, we care about you. I always say this, that the Democrats would have won this election if they just did about 50% of what they said that they were going to do for black people. You got me? They didn't have to start catering and bringing on Meg Thee Stallion on stage and everything to twerk and all that kind of stuff. But because they don't do anything substantial, they don't do anything tangible, when it comes to the end of the 4 years, election time, they start running helter-skelter. You go, I mean, when you put in work and show your work, you wouldn't need to explain because your work will tell your stories for you. And that's the thing that happens to the Democratic Party and all these black activists that are out here crying.
These people coming over here, that you could pay them under the table.
I'm popular for saying this, Officer Tatum. When white folks catch a cold, black folks catch pneumonia. It's always worse for us than it is for them. I bring up that statement because of what you just said. When you think about open borders and illegal immigrants crossing the borders, ultimately you're alluding to it having a detrimental effect on the black community. Is that your way of saying that you felt the left did that to us, that they just disregarded black folks?
Stephen A., they've been giving us the middle finger since I can remember. All the way back from the Ku Klux Klan. They have never supported black people whatsoever. They hoodwinked us into getting us on food stamps and getting us with government assistance, having us to abandon our own success. We had our own bus line. We had our own schools. We had all this stuff. They tricked us into believing that the white man was the cure to our own issues. They tricked us. And then now look at us, Stephen A. They don't have to bid for our vote. They got our vote hook, line, and sinker.
Well,
so they're never going to do nothing for us.
That part I get. But when you say they did nothing, I'm thinking about civil rights legislation. I'm thinking about infrastructure. I'm thinking about Jim Crow laws, the eradication of it. I'm thinking about the access to capital that was given that black folks had dated from the 60s and beyond that we didn't have before that. Are you saying that's the Republicans?
That's Republican, unanimous Republican votes for the civil rights. The Democrats filibustered the Civil Rights Act, the longest filibuster in history until Booker just did what he did. But the Democrats were not in support of that. That was the Republican Party that was in support of that. And then let's go down the list. If these things were benefiting black people, why are we still complaining today? We've been voting for Democrats for, 40, 50 years now, lockstep, and we still complaining. We still don't have the rights that we want. We still don't have equality in America. Racism is still plaguing our community, according to black people. So what have they been doing this whole time? And when you look at it, they have just secured our vote, and they don't have to do nothing for us. And this is what we've created, Stephen A.
Why should they? Why should they do something for you if they know that at the end of every 4 years, all they need to do is to come to you, fearmonger you, tell you that the devil, that Hitler is across the fence over there, and that you shouldn't vote for them, and get a vote. That's all I need to do. Every other community, the LGBTQ community, the Asian community, they have done something, the Jewish community, they have done things for them. But all they need to do is to come to you and put in fear in you. You go what I mean? You have to be in the plantation. And if that fear doesn't work, all I need to do is to galvanize other black people to cancel you. They did it to Ice Cube. And everybody feels that they have to be in the plantation. Everybody feels that they have to be scared. They can't say anything. They can't mingle with any conservative person in the open. They can't say anything good about Trump and all that. They cannot go across the aisle to get things that are beneficial for their people. Ice Cube tried to do it, and they canceled him for it. That is what they do for your vote. They don't have to do anything tangible for you. They don't have to. And to me, that is the reason why you should not be loyal to any party. You should be loyal to the party that does something for you. Your vote is your power. Use your power.
We've created an environment where we don't benefit from none of it because the Democrats don't have to work because they know I already got us. The Republicans don't need to work because they can win without us.
I've been saying that.
Black women voted at 90-some% for Democrats. Stephen A., Donald Trump won in a landslide. You give it 2 more election cycles. Illegal aliens and Hispanics are going to be the majority minority. Therefore, black people can vote 100% for Democrats, and they're not going to have any leverage in the political environment. And I'll tell you this, the Democrats, look at their platform. They want women to have abortions. They don't.
And the Democratic Party, they are noticing that right now. That's the reason why they are bringing in all these illegal immigrants now. right? Because they are noticing that black people are smartening up, especially black men. Oh, so in the next 8 years, we probably might not have these people all voting for us. You know what? Let's bring in people to obviously replace them. Because when we bring in people and those people know that it was us that brought them in, what do you think they're going to do? Of course, they're going to vote for them.
Support a marriage. They don't support God and things the way the Republicans do. What does that do to the inner city black communities or black communities in general? We're not getting married. Baby daddy, baby mama drama out of control. We have an abortion more than anybody else. Obesity is out of control in the black community, which is one of the biggest plagues in the black community and the leading cause of death, which is hypertension and heart disease. What has the Democrats done about it? Nothing. The Republicans with RFK is saying we need to make sure we have better foods. We need to make sure the SNAP program on prioritizing soda to our young people, which a lot of black people are on the SNAP program. That's the difference in policy position. But DL Hughley, he'll never talk about that. He will never talk about the fact that we've given our trust to the Democrat Party and they fix nothing.
I'm going to invite him on here. Offset. I'm going to make sure that I play these clips for you. I've met him over the years a couple of times. He's always been cool with me, even though he's been critical of me from time to time too. I'm a big boy, like I said. I can take it. It's no big deal. But I'm definitely going to drop this education you dropping on him. I'm going to make sure that he sees this. But I would ask you this, based on everything that you're saying, if you were in front of DL Hughley right now, and you had an opportunity to talk to him about his position, about Trump, about the MAGA movement, about the GOP overall, particularly in comparison to what's going on with the left, other than what you just said, is there anything you would add?
Well, let me say this. I think that if DL Hughley was in front of me and we had a debate, it would be the most embarrassing time of his life. He gets no pushback from the black community, none whatsoever. He's in an echo chamber. It's very simple. I would ask DL Hughley, what policy positions are you saying that Donald Trump has failed in, that the Democrats has prospered in? And this is what he will say to me. He will give me a talking point from CNN that's been debunked 20 years ago. He doesn't have substance. What I will add to DL is I will say, DL, do you really care about the black community, or are you living in an environment where you're worshiping your skin color? Because if you care about the black community versus worshiping a skin color, why are you not out here advocating for things that will help the black community, like school choice, which is a Republican talking point? Democrats don't stand on school choice. And I think young black people, even like my son, should have the choice to go to the school that I think is best for him. I mean, we can go down the list. Illegal immigration. I guarantee you DL will be arguing me that it's wrong that Donald Trump deporting all these Mexican people. He didn't say nothing when Barack Obama did it, and Barack Obama was the deporter in chief. He deported more people than anybody in history.
That is correct.
So I think that every single point that DL Hughley has ever made that I have listened to him make is always incorrect.
People don't know that other communities, they take away their emotions, keep it on the side. They use logic, and whoever is in power, they go to the person and do a deal with them. There are Jews out there, there are liberal Jews that hate Trump. Do you know what happened after October 7th? Most of them, because they knew that Trump was gonna ride hard, for Israel. Most of them voted for Trump because of that. But it's only black people. Oh no, we are not gonna, we don't want nothing to do with this person. We're not gonna go to the office. We're not gonna respect the office. We're not gonna honor the office. We don't want nothing but we also would like them to do something for us. Nobody's gonna do that for you. That's very stupid.
He probably thinks that Shador not going in the first round is racism because he has this vitriolic behavior against white folks. I don't think that had nothing to do with race. He think the kid who stabbed the young man in Dallas in the chest is that they're railroading him and it's racism. Well, I was a police officer. I know what probable cause look like, and I read the law in Texas, and it was a reasonable charging of that young man who killed another person. So he would never pick the side to support anything white, even if the white person is right.
Is that the way you feel about any black person that has an issue with what we're seeing from Trump, its administration, or the GOP? Or is that message especially for DL Hughley because you're familiar, or you say you're familiar with some of the things he said?
It's specifically for DL Hughley and DL Hughley likes, because there are people who are educated that just have a difference of opinion or they have criticisms.
Right.
I don't agree with everything Trump does. I've been on his head. His last term, I was all over his head and people wanted to unfollow me. I don't, these people ain't paying my paycheck. So I don't need to do anything for anybody. I'm just here to tell the truth and keep it real. And Donald Trump has done things that have been questionable, in my personal opinion, with the vaccines and all of the such. Tariffs as well. To tariffs, I agree with Trump. I believe in Trump, and in good faith, I think he's doing the right thing. But if a person came out and said, look, I'm concerned about tariffs. I own a company, Stephen A. We partner and do things overseas, and it's going to hit us. But I do believe that Trump is doing the right thing for a good reason, and I'm optimistic about the outcome. But if DL Hughley came on and said, I think the tariffs may be a bad idea, citing these reasons, I'd say, okay. But DL Hughley, you know, you can say, he says, Donald Trump is removing black existence from society, which is the most asinine thing ever. And you would ask him, what are you referring to? He'll say, books being removed. If you go to Florida and you look at the 120 plus variation of books that have been removed from the Florida school system, it was removed because of pornography. It's because they're showing nudity and talking about sex with elementary students.
To kids.
But DL Hughley don't do any research. He won't look up anything. He just know that he has to oppose Donald Trump at every end. And here's another thing, Stephen A. If you ask him if he come on your show, what's something that Donald Trump has done that have been positive? He will not have nothing to say because he can't say it, because the people, I call them the people of the melanin, will eat him alive. If he decided to go to the White House and say, look, I'm going to set the record straight with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump say, DL, come to the White House, let's talk. DL won't go to the White House. Even if he could talk to Trump and even if he could confront Trump face to face, he won't do it because he know he ain't researched nothing and the black people will eat him alive. Stephen A., you've experienced it. You say one thing that sound conservative and they eating you alive. And now you're a Republican and now you simply for Trump. Saquon Barkley gets invited to the White House like every other person who wins the.
They did that to Nelly. They did that to Snoop. They also did that to Soulja Boy. Any black person that says anything positive, any black person that does anything positive, like going to the White House to perform, Krista Michelle, they canceled her for that. Ruined her career for that. These are the people that act like they are in a cult.
The Super Bowl. I mean, it's not the first time in history of Super Bowl champs have been to the White House.
Right.
And I'll say this, when Biden was in office, who opted out? I don't know if any Republican opted out when Biden was in office. And I'll tell you what, people on the Kansas City Chiefs, there's a bunch of them that are Trump supporters. Right. That's because we don't have that vitriolic behavior against Joe Biden, even though he was way worse than anything Trump could have ever done. But I'll say this, Stephen A., and then I'll shut up. I want to see us unite. I want to see us stop arguing and bickering over stupid stuff. Let's be informed. I would love to sit down with DL Hughley if he wanted to act in good faith. We need to have a better country. We need safety for everybody, not just black people. And because I have a blended family and a lot of people that work for me and that I know, investors, business partners, mentors, are of every color, we should be focused on saying, how do we all win together? Not running around picking tribes and saying, I'm only for the black people and I'm only for these people. That's never going to work in society. It's never going to work. And I hope that black people wake up to this. We cannot isolate ourselves in a cocoon and think we're going to live in the inner city community and somehow show the white man. That's not America. That never will be America.
Let me say this to you before I let you go. There's a couple of things. Number one, I appreciate that message because I co-sign with you 1,000% on it. We do need to come together. And my definition of coming together is being able to have a conversation and not looking at one another with vitriol because we disagree. Let's butt heads and see whose ideas are better. In other words, knowing policy, knowing objectives and agendas, and coming to a conclusion as to whether what's right and what's wrong, and in our mindset, what would be the reason for that? I've heard Officer Tatum and your crew criticize me before, and I've gone like this. Well, damn, you know, they might have a good point there. I didn't see it that way. Well, let me look at it. And then there are other things that are like, no, I'm not budging. I think I'm right. And they're wrong. Which is why, by the way, I ain't just asked you to come on my show. I come on your show anytime you want me to, my brother. I ain't hiding. I'm here. But I think that the most important message that you're giving is that the Democratic Party has had the black vote for the most part since the 60s. And we've been so transparent in our support for the party that it's given them a license to take us for granted. Mm-hmm. And it's given the right a license to ignore us because they assumed they wouldn't get our vote anyway. Yep. Therefore, we're the ones without representation. Yep. And then we're wondering what the hell has happened. Now, Trump disoriented stuff a little bit because I think I never called him names and all that. My issue with him is how he behaves, because I think the presidency is a statesmanship position. And if you don't know how to act and you busy tweeting, going after Kathy Griffin and everybody else, something like that, as Cat Williams joked about one time, that's problematic for me, but that's it. And that's how I look at it. And anything else, I'm like, listen, he'll get away with what you want him to get away with. Every president in office wants their policies, and you've got senators and congressional figures that are going to support you. They're going to sway you one way or another. Everything's open for negotiation, and that's the way that it should be. So I completely support where you're coming from in terms of keeping an open mind and listening, and I get where you're coming from. I'll give you the last word in this question. As a black man in the United States of America, with Trump in office right now, with everything that you've already said has been going on, due in large part to the left, where do you see us going from here? Because there's a lot of black people that don't see progress when they think about Trump.
Yeah. Great message from Officer Tatum, a.k.a. Brandon Tatum. Listen, he did his thing on this one, man. He gave DL Hughley, and like he said, the DL Hughley likes. He gave them the combo with this one. You get what I'm saying? And they deserve it. And they deserve it because we are sick and tired of people like them. You get what I'm saying? They derail black people year after year, decade after decade. You know, most black people are still in the same situation. And this guy, you know, he's living life. He's living life. Traveling around the world, doing whatever he's doing, and he's telling you lot to be in the same situation that you lot are in, right? And not do better for yourself. No, it is time to go across the aisle, sit down with these people, and get what we can get for our community. You get what I'm saying? Listen, let me know your thoughts in this video. Subscribe to this channel as I'm trying to grow it. You get what I'm saying? Like these videos, share it with your friends. Is your boy Toby. Until next time, salute.